John Krasinski gave an update on whether or not he will return as Reed Richards in the MCU in the 2025 reboot of the Fantastic Four. Since Disney bought Fox and the reboot was announced, fans have been very interested in who will play the Fantastic Four in the MCU. There has been a lot of ideas about who should play Marvel's first family. John Krasinski, Jim from The Office, is one of the most talked about choices for Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic. John Krasinski shares disappointing Fantastic Four movie update. John Krasinski says he hasn't talked to Marvel Studios about playing Reed Richards in Fantastic Four again since his cameo in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. After becoming the clear favorite among fans to play Mr. Fantastic in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the former star of The Office joined the franchise through the multiverse to meet the growing demand. As part of the Illuminati team in Doctor Strange 2, John Krasinski played Reed Richards from the Earth 838. The cameo made people wonder right away if he would play the character again in the main MCU timeline and be the main star of the next Fantastic Four movie. Since John Krasinski's first Reed Richards movie, fans have had more mixed feelings about the idea of him keeping the role in the MCU. Krasinski is now busy promoting the third season of Jack Ryan. During a recent press event with The Wrap, he talked about his possible return to the MCU. The actor was asked if he and Marvel have talked about keeping working together in a way that would let John Krasinski play Mr. Fantastic again. He said that there has been no talks like that. There are no conversations at all. The only conversation I had was in the second to last episode of Jack Ryan. Kevin Feige called and asked if he would fly to Los Angeles and spend a day playing in our sandbox. I was glad to be able to do it. I went straight to the set of Doctor Strange after we finished in Budapest. I really like all those characters and that world, so getting to play in that sandbox for a day was a lot of fun. Why Krasinski won't be the MCU's Reed Richards. The chances that John Krasinski won't come back as Reed Richards in the MCU seems much higher than the chances that he will. Fans are likely to disagree again about the decision. Those who didn't like Krasinski's performance as Mr. Fantastic in Doctor Strange 2 will probably be glad to see him only once, but there were others who wanted to get him a real chance to play the character in a bigger role. Krasinski and Marvel may have changed their long-term plans because of how people reacted to the portrayal. As time goes on, it becomes clear that John Krasinski's cameo as Reed Richards was just a way for Marvel Studios to please fans without making him the main Mr. Fantastic character in the MCU. Kevin Feige can now say that he gave fans a taste of what they wanted while still being able to find someone else to play the role for years to come. No one knows if Marvel ever really thought about casting Krasinski as Reed Richards in the MCU. Now, it's clear that neither Marvel nor Krasinski thought that Doctor Strange 2 would be the beginning of something bigger. Mr. Fantastic, played by John Krasinski, might not be coming back, but that doesn't mean people will never see him again. Even though the Scarlet Witch killed Reed in Earth 838, Krasinski could come back because Marvel is moving in a multiverse direction. In the comics, there's a group called the Council of Reeds, which Krasinski could play in the movie. The new version of Reed Richards could come back in the MCU's Fantastic Four and talk to the actor who plays Marvel's real Reed Richards. If not, Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic could also show up in Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, or Avengers Secret Wars. Well, John Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic introduction avoids a Phase 4 problem. Even though John Krasinski's time as Mr. Fantastic in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was short, it solved the problem that could have come up in a later Fantastic Four movie. In Phase 4 of the MCU, characters have often been introduced that are very powerful, only to have been toned down in later movies. Even though the version of Multiverse of Madness was just a variation, showing his early death will set the tone for Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four's future MCU appearances. In Marvel Comics, Mr. Fantastic is known as the smartest man on Earth. Together with the other members of the Fantastic Four, they are some of the most powerful heroes in the Marvel Universe. Putting them in future MCU projects with the Avengers could look like an imbalance of power, but Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness shows all of Mr. Fantastic's flaws. This can help avoid that problem. Since the audience knows he makes mistakes, they can no longer say that the character is too strong. Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic death can combat a Fantastic Four Four problem. There's been a lot of heroes who seem too strong in their first MCU movie, which has led to debates of who can do what. For example, Carol Danvers has been very powerful since she first appeared in Captain Marvel, and in The Marvels, her power will even go up. For a hero who seems to be able to fight enemies all by herself, it's not clear how well she fits in with a team like the Avengers. Since Mr. Fantastic is known for being smart, he might have had the same doubts if it weren't for his introduction in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Scarlet Witch easily beat Mr. Fantastic in the short time he was on screen. Even though he is called the smartest man on Earth, people have less faith in him after he made a careless mistake and gave away Black Bolt's powers. Even though he has a lot of brain power, he is still not as strong as other MCU characters. Whether Marvel goes with an origin story or an established plot for the next Fantastic Four movie, Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic has given the MCU a chance to level out the Fantastic Four's powers before they arrive. Krasinski's controversial Doctor Strange death can be good for MCU. Fans have liked John Krasinski as Reed Richards for a long time, and his death in Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness was both a disappointment to some and a relief to others. For people who didn't like how obvious Krasinski's casting was a fan service, killing off his version makes room for a new Mr. Fantastic Four character, while still recognizing the fan cast. Others who were more disappointed with how the character of Mr. Fantastic was portrayed can rest assured that Krasinski's Reed Richards is not the final, definitive version of Reed Richards in the main MCU timeline. Having the Scarlet Witch quickly kill John Krasinski's Mr. Fantastic helps make him seem less powerful. For a group like the Fantastic Four, who could easily become some of the most powerful heroes in the MCU, Reed Richards' appearance will lower expectations and make it easier for him to join the main universe. Even though Krasinski's performance of Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness got mixed reviews, it can't be denied that it sets the tone for the Fantastic Four movie by avoiding the Phase 4 character problem. Next, as Marvel rumors rise, Emily Blunt has already made her stance on Fantastic Four casting abundantly clear. 2022 finally made a long-held dream of the Marvel fandom come true, in the form of John Krasinski stretching onto our screens as Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. At this point, we're still not sure if the Quiet Place actor's one-and-done role as Reed Richards will be the end of his Marvel career, but there's still a lot of hope that his real-life wife, Emily Blunt, will join him in the Fantastic Four reboot of 2024 as Sue Storm, Invisible Woman. But it's our duty, not our pleasure, to put out this Human Torch-sized fire by bringing up Blunt's past comments about joining the Marvel Universe herself. Unfortunately, not all of them are very good. During an interview with Howard Stern in May 2021, the host asked Blunt about all the talk about her joining the Fantastic Four. Blunt said that the talk was just fan casting, since she hasn't even gotten a phone call. Stern then asked Blunt straight out if she thought she was too good of an actress and that superhero movies were below her. Blunt quickly shot down this idea, but she did make it clear that the comic book scene is just not her thing. It's not that I don't want to do it, I really like Iron Man, and when I was offered Black Widow, Iron Man was all I could think about. I wanted to work with Robert Downey Jr. because it would have been amazing, but I don't know if I'm a good fit for superhero movies. They are not my thing. I don't like them. I don't mean it. She was Marvel's first choice to play Black Widow in Iron Man 2, as Blunt says. However, scheduling issues forced her to drop out, and Scarlett Johansson took her place. Even though she was excited to play that part, Blunt doesn't seem to be into superhero movies in general. Why Emily Blunt would be a good Sue Storm. After Krasinski's cameo in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, MCU fans started pushing hard for Blunt to play Sue Storm. Even though his version of Reed Richards' Mr. Fantastic didn't take place on Earth 616, many people wanted to see Krasinski come back because he was a fan favorite. Blunt recently said that she also wanted to see him play Richards again in Fantastic Four. Those who have read the comics about the team and their story know that Storm and Richards get married and have a son named Franklin. Blunt and Krasinski's previous movies together, A Quiet Place and its 2020 sequel, A Quiet Place Part 2, did well at the box office, but if they were to star in a Marvel movie together, it could bring in even more people. Blunt has been in action movies like Edge of Tomorrow and Sicario, trio, so it's not hard to picture her as a superhero in the MCU. The Invisible Woman seems like the perfect role for her, and now that the Fantastic Four have finally come out, the character could show up in a lot of other projects. Blunt has also worked with Disney on a number of projects in the past, including Jungle Cruise, Mary Poppins Return, and Into the Woods. Even though there haven't been any casting announcements yet, many people are still holding out hope that the actress is at least being thought about. Unfortunately, guys, that is all the time we had for today. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Till next time, cheers!